Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Brother Sister Show, a family owned and operated podcast where two siblings keep in touch by talking about movies. I'm Anthony, and I'm joined here with my sister Livia.
Hello.
And this week, we're going to talk about her pick, Get On Up. But before that, what's up, Livia? How are you?
I'm pretty good. My my wisdom teeth situation is getting a little dire. Not that much. It just now when I eat, sometimes I hate that I am like getting into this, but I've already talked about it, so might as well update. But like when you have just like mouth problems, like if you have like something like a sore, I don't know, something, and you start eating and then it just like something touches it, and so now it's irritated for like the whole week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The mouth is so stupid like that.
Yeah, and so that's annoying. I need to make an appointment. But yeah, but it's not bad pain. It's mostly just annoying, but that's going on. There is something I've been hesitating to talk about it, but I feel like I've already talked about my teeth. So let's talk about mental health. So I started to go see a therapist.
Mm-hmm.
And like I just want to break the stigma of talking about therapy, because even though I've only been to one session, I'm already pretty excited, nervous, but like excited to be able to talk things out. So if you have the means to, and I know there's like tons of places that you don't need insurance. I think like BetterHelp is one, and there's just like a bunch of places. The place that this isn't an ad. We don't have any ads on this podcast, but I went
Not real ones.
No, just fake ones that we come up with. But I guess a real kind of one is if you were like, the whole process of finding a therapist was already it was so fucking annoying, and it was so hard to try to find one, especially with somebody that I haven't had to deal with health insurance, because like we said before, we're military kids, and so our health insurance is just like provided for us up to a certain age, and it's so easy with TRICARE. It's like super simple to do things, but now that I am not on that and I have to kind of just be an adult and do my own thing, it's really difficult to learn about everything and because it's so complicated. I'm sure you haven't had to deal with it yet, Anthony, but
No, my body is young and I'm healthy.
Okay, but it's like I don't know. It's so annoying because like I thought that all you had to do. Oh God, I'm gonna expose how dumb I am. But I thought all you needed to do was to find somebody that accepted your insurance, which is not true. They have to accept your insurance, but they also have to be in network. All this to say
Right.
that like all the complicated shit, at least with the therapist, I went to sondermind.com, and it like within not even, I think it was within the same day, I was able to set up an appointment, and they found somebody that was in network. It was just so helpful, and I fucking loved it. And it was the most simple appointment I've ever had to make. And it's all virtual because, of COVID and whatnot. But yeah.
That's cool.
So if you have the means to do it, it's nice to have somebody to talk to and to unpack things. I'll update y'all, I guess. I don't know how deep I want to get into it, but yeah, it's nice to be able to have that. But as far as what I'm watching, so I haven't been watching that much stuff because I've just been pretty busy. I'll like whenever I get off of work, I'll do other things for the podcast, for our small business, other just small projects that I do. But since we had a long weekend, I was able to watch a couple of things. One is Twilight.
Oh my goodness.
I watched
Why?
the first movie with Sebastian, and it was a mess. I completely forgot how painful it is to watch that movie. You recently watched all of them, right?
Yeah, in the span of like 2 days. Robert Pattinson's character Edward is so creepy.
So creepy. I don't think I realized that until now. And like all of the I think I knew when I was younger when I first watched them. I knew that it was like showcasing a bunch of unhealthy relationships, but I don't think I realized it until now, like watching it as a full adult. Well, I don't know about full adult, but you know what I mean. But yeah, they're so toxic and it's so fucking cheesy. Like I was talking to Sebastian about it where I was like, I don't understand how anybody could make fun of Robert Pattinson or Kirsten, what's her name? Stewart, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just anybody in that movie and think that they're bad actors because to have a straight face to any of that dialogue is is a feat within itself. I don't understand how they did that. So the fact that people are like talking shit about them to this day, it makes absolutely no sense to me. But yeah, I think the hardest I've laughed in a very, very long time was watching the scene where she first walks into the science class.
Oh my
And
goodness.
he's like, I don't know what the fuck he's doing. He's like, he looks like he's like shitting himself. And the fact that nobody around him was like, are you okay?
He just walked out, left.
My God. Yeah. So I've just been like, just binging all of the movies. They're so, I mean, it's entertaining how bad they are, but they are truly are so bad. But it's like
Yeah, I
a
don't like
Hallmark
them.
movie kind of bad. Like I don't like them. I don't think they're good movies, but they're really fun to watch. And I haven't been able to watch a lot of things like with a group of people or just with anybody else, but watching it with Sebastian and us just making fun of it the whole time was really
Yeah.
fun. But yeah, I don't understand those movies at all. Oh, it really makes me sad too, or it made me worried. I was like, it makes me so uncomfortable that so many like young impressionable people watched these and were like, oh yeah, that's how an ideal relationship should be.
Well, when I first met Kayla, I immediately threw up by the way she smelled. Similar to the way Edward does. I was repulsed.
He was like
I was
grabbing the
just like,
table. God, he's so fucking dramatic.
get a grip, Edward.
And I want to know the timeline because it seems like I mean, so he proposed to her at the end of not even at the end of senior year, right?
Oh,
No,
is it
at
the
the end
same
of
movie?
senior year. No, so Twilight was when they is when so I should map this out. So the first one, the thing that made me uncomfortable was that they were only together for what seems like not even a week and he was already like, she's my life, you're the rest of my life. And I'm like, first of all, she's 17. I know you're like 100 and whatever the fuck, but like she's so young. It just, and you don't know each other. I mean, I guess I could get the argument of him being alive for like over 100 years. He's maybe there is some sort of merit to him not ever feeling this way for another person. So maybe it is strange to him and he's like, yeah, she's the one. But on her end, for her to be so like ready to jump into that, I would be so freaked out. I can't even imagine.
Yeah.
And then the
It's all
second
very
movie,
weird.
I think okay, so the second movie ended. I just watched them today, so I remember this. But the second movie ended when she was like, what the fuck happened? He came back after he like he tried to pull that stunt in Rome or whatever.
Oh,
And the movie
that's
ended,
so
and I
stupid.
remember this now, like I had a flashback when I watched it, but um he ended it saying that she wants him to change her into a vampire, and he was like, well, I have a condition, and she was like, what the hell do you want? And he said, marry me. And I remember that because the music dropped and they wanted that to be a moment, and I remember watching it in theaters and so many girls gasped and I wanted to leave.
He
And I
did
was like,
not.
and then I remember thinking, y'all have read the fucking book, right? Like you knew this was gonna happen. Or maybe not, I don't know, but yeah. Now I'm watching the one where she's pregnant and she looks like absolute shit.
When she breaks her back. Oh my goodness. I completely forgot about that.
No spoilers, I'm on the first part.
You've seen it before, right?
Yeah.
Well,
I
the
just
thing,
got to the part, I had to pause it to record this, so we better finish this real quick. But I am at the part where Jacob just learned. I forgot how creepy he was too.
oh yeah,
Also, Taylor Lautner, I've learned, is not Native American or indigenous at all. From what I don't think he is, or he's like at least distant, but problematic number one. Second, I forgot how creepy he was, and he's like, whenever they kiss and they're like getting all into it, he's like 16.
yeah, he's like super young.
I didn't realize that. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe this is why so many people I know have had such like, I don't know. I feel like in high school there's just so many like dramatic relationships, and I've always wondered why. Like that does not look fun. But
It's all Stephanie Meyer.
these movies make it seem like it's that those kind of relationships are the only ones that passion is involved. You know, like you can't be passionate without drama or without being. Instead of saying I love you and I want to be with you right now, they have to say I will never last a day without you by my side. Like it's so fucking dramatic. So that was
I said it when I watched him. I don't get why Stephanie Meyer is not
in jail.
in jail.
Honestly, yeah.
Like, how did her publisher read her books and like she's completely sane?
I mean, like I said, I will defend the first book a little bit because it's not bad. From what I remember,
in her defense, I've never read any of them. So.
See, yeah. So for the first one, from like the mind of a middle schooler, which is when I read it, it wasn't that bad. The other ones, I have no idea. But I don't know. It had potential. I do like some of the. I can't believe I'm defending this movie, but I do like some of the ideas of like, you know, the vampires and how they interact with the werewolves. It's just like that whole lore. I think the thing that bothers me is just the whole, like how dramatic everything is, you know.
Yeah.
But I guess if you're selling a young adult thing, I don't get. Or I'll say this. So I understand being dramatic because it's a young adult movie. You have to fit a bunch of things within a certain timeline. The thing that I do not understand and I will not defend, like I said, is the toxicity of those relationships. And if you're young and you're reading that, or if you're young and you're writing like a Wattpad kind of fan fiction, that's understandable because that's young girls that don't, or not just girls, I won't say that, young people that don't know how a relationship should function. Not that there's one way, but there's certain ways that it shouldn't function. But the fact, like you said, we joke about it, but truly, the fact that a grown woman would write such toxic things is really troubling to me.
Yeah.
So that's what I'll say, but
I don't want to spend more time on Twilight. We've done enough.
Okay. Well, the next movie that I watch, I really want you to watch, and I just want to get your reaction from it. It's also one of those that I don't want to spoil anything, so I'll just tell you what it is and a little bit of like how it starts. But I really want you and Kayla to just like sit down and watch it and just like have it unravel before you. So it's a movie called Strange But True. Terrible title, off to a great start. Sebastian and I the whole weekend, I was like randomly would say like, well, that's strange, but true.
But true. It's like what you get in a magic 8-ball.
Yeah, exactly. Or like a fortune cookie or something. Not a movie title. But but it has such a stacked cast that I was like, how did this movie get under the radar? And for the first parts of it, I was like, oh, this isn't bad. Like, I don't understand how this movie like flew so low under the radar. And then we got like more towards the end, and I was like, oh, okay, it's bad. But all I'll say to get you intrigued, because I think this happens within the first like scene. But so this girl shows up, this like young girl shows up at a family's house, and it's Holly from The Office, her house.
Okay.
And she is pregnant, and she tells the mom, which is Holly from The Office, and then this other kid. So the reason that they know her is that she was the girlfriend of Holly's dead son. So he
Okay.
died. He died when they were together. And so she comes to the house and she's pregnant, and she says that the kid that she's pregnant with is her son's, her dead son's kid.
Making it her grandson
Yes.
or kid.
Problem is, he died 5 years ago.
What the? That's strange, but
But
true. Is that
Yeah.
what the mom says? That's strange.
and then
true.
the girl says, but true. That's all I'll say.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. I really want to watch it.
I need you guys to watch it. And try to watch it before next time, and then we'll discuss. We'll do a mini, just unless you want to watch it next time, but I really don't want to unpack this movie.
No.
But yeah.
I'll watch it.
So that's how I'm doing. How are you?
Doing all right. Kind of on the same note as you going to therapy, which is awesome. I've been doing meditation. So I listened to this one podcast and they were talking about it. And someone suggested the app Headspace. I'm sure you've heard of it.
Yeah.
A lot of people it's like a widely used app for meditation. And there's like some premium courses, but there's also like free ones, some like free tier stuff. So I tried the basic like starter ones, which are only like 4.5 minutes. And it's just some British dude telling you to breathe and focus on your breathing, and just to let the thoughts, like a train, like you're watching a train, just watch your thoughts go by. It's pretty interesting. I think I like it. It's pretty cool. Like I'll start it. I'll take a deep breath, because you start with a deep breath and then you just think about nothing, and you see your thoughts go by and you don't like attach to them. You don't delve into them. And then by the time you know it, like the 4 minutes is over, he's like, all right, you're done. Like get up, open your eyes whenever you're ready. It's very weird. It's a weird feeling, at least how I've felt.
Do you feel it different?
I try to do it in the morning, so I feel pretty calm. I don't know. I'm gonna try experimenting with different times of the day, like maybe like when my classes are all done and I'm like right before I do start more work, just like taking a mental break.
Yeah.
So that's new. But on like the opposite end of the spectrum, that's like me bettering myself. Like I'm not motivated for school whatsoever. I know it sounds really bad, and mom and dad are gonna be like, "Oh, oh snaps," but I don't know. It's just I don't know if it's because I'm home all the time. I got to do something. I'm just like, what's the point? But I know this is a temporary feeling, and I'll get over it or whatever. But it's just been weird. I think because I want to do so much more than just class, and these classes just feel useless. But it's also the beginning of the semester, so maybe when these projects kick in, I'll have my mind caught. And I want to start making a video again, or just videos in general, but I haven't had a good idea.
You should. I've had a lot of conversations with people about this, just like feeling stagnant, I guess. Like you're doing stuff, but you just don't feel yourself moving ahead.
Right.
And I felt this when I first did freelancing. I hated it, but I think it was just because I always used to equate doing stuff and being productive and getting stuff done. I used to equate it with like going to work and like the act of like going and doing things. Right. And when I wasn't able to do that, it really fucked with me. So maybe that's what it is. Like I at least just love I loved commuting. Like I miss that a lot, and it sounds really psychotic because that's what people hate. But I just loved like even when I had to ride the bus to work, I loved riding the bus. I loved just like having my. I felt like I was, like going to my job downtown. Like it just felt like such a cool thing. And now that don't have that anymore, it does feel like a big shift, but a negative one.
Right.
But I don't know. I think, at least for me, what I always tell people, because people always, not always come to me, but like when my friends come to me and say that they feel that way, that they don't like their job, or that they just like I said, just don't feel like they're doing much, I always say to try to like, it sucks to, I always want to tell people, like, I really want to tell people, like, oh, well, then just don't go to school, or then, oh, just quit your job. But it's not that easy. So that was going to
Yeah.
be my advice, is to try to find something outside that fulfills you. Because I mean,
Yeah.
I personally, I am privileged to like my job that I have now, like my day job. But I have a lot of other things that fulfill me in other ways that my job doesn't,
Mm-hmm.
And right now, I have certain days, but I think generally I'm a lot happier than I used to be. Um, because I used to think freelancing was the bad thing that I didn't like. But now I'm thinking I just wasn't in a good mindset.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I've been trying some new stuff. Like I said, I was streaming. I want to start making videos again. Normally, I just have to have a good idea. I have this one idea that I came up with while I was working on a project for one of my programming classes, and it's a shot that it'll. I don't know. I always think of beginnings of videos or ends, and this is an end. I just need to like fill out the rest of the 3 to 5 minutes with other stuff. I think I'm gonna do like try to do almost an apartment tour, but not like, hey guys, this is my closet and this is my dresser and here's where I sleep and here's my desk. Like I don't know. I want to try to find a way to do that without doing that, because I'm here all the time. I legit don't leave. I think because you were saying you enjoy commuting. I think I might have, because I walked everywhere, and like that was a good. I just would like listen to music or listen to a podcast and just walk to class or to work. I'm not doing any of that. I'm just the only walking I do is from the bed to the desk and to the restroom when I need to pee.
Yeah. Well, you should also, what I've heard people do during like Corona times is to recreate that. So maybe if you don't walk anywhere, you at least start your day with a walk.
Right. Or like in between classes, walk somewhere. Because I have like
Yeah.
30 minutes where I'm like, oh, I got to fill the time with something.
Yeah, or like right now what I do is I don't do that, but when I wake up at least 30 minutes before I have to actually log in. Usually sometimes it's an hour, but I try for 30 minutes so that I can take my time with like taking a shower. And I get dressed almost every day. I don't like to just like and walk around in the stuff I slept in. So I kind of recreate that, and I'll like make my coffee and listen to a podcast that I normally would listen to if I was commuting. So maybe that'll help. I think just making
Yeah.
a routine.
Yeah, I just got to find that groove. But I've been, we'll talk about it more, but I think this movie kind of like made me feel unmotivated. I'll go into a little why, but I've been watching some other stuff.
Yeah.
Kind of a lot. Kayla and I really recently came into some HBO.
Ooh.
So we've been going through a lot of that. We watched like the classics from Game of Thrones because we want to watch all of it, but
Why?
I don't know. It's a good series.
Yeah.
We watched the Red Wedding. Whenever Arya gets the phrase "back for the red wedding," and then the long night in season whatever the latest one was,
Oh
the
yeah.
season that shall not be named. And what else? Oh, we watched with her family Ready or Not,
Oh
which
my
is
god. Is this the first time you've seen it?
no, I saw it in theaters,
Okay.
but
So good.
yeah, the end, I'm kind of like, eh. Second time around or third time
I
around.
love it. The only thing I don't like is the last line.
Yeah, the
I hate it.
last lines, ugh. But I don't know. I just don't like the fiance or husband. Like his character and his actions towards the end. They don't
That was the
make a
point
whole lot
though.
of.
Well,
It doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me.
what didn't make sense?
Like I get it. He turned to be bad,
Mm-hmm.
but it didn't seem like it was. It just
Earned?
seemed forced almost.
I disagree. Because he always showed kind of an allegiance. Like he didn't like his family, but he still liked his mom. And so it made sense to me that switch flipped. Because I think he used to think he didn't care about any of his family and he just cared
Right.
about her. But then seeing that she killed his mom, I think that triggered him. I will defend that movie to the death. I fucking love that movie.
Yeah, the last line does it for me. I'm like, ugh,
Yeah,
man, that was.
I don't like that line. I wish they would have just had her sitting there. I don't know why they had to have her say something.
Yeah, that's pretty dumb. But that, and then the last thing is we've been slowly. Oh no, not the last thing. Another thing before that other thing is we started watching Lovecraft Country, which I don't know if you've seen it.
No, not yet.
I know David loves it.
Yeah.
I watched it. David, I have no idea what the hell is going on. We just finished the second episode, and Kayla and I both agree we feel like we've missed a season. It's like the first season. It all came out of nowhere. And it's just like it feels like a season finale.
Is it based on something?
I think so. I could be very wrong. I think it is.
Huh. Yeah, I haven't seen it. I have been watching I don't know if you would listen or watch it because it's about cults and I know you don't like cults, but there's a mini, I don't know if it's a mini series, but a series called The Vow that talks about, I don't know, have you heard of Nexium?
Why does that sound so familiar?
You've probably heard of it, but it's a cult that recently I think it's now disbanded. I don't know much about it, but it talks about some of the people that are like whenever they started to suspect that it was a cult and them trying to get out of it. It's kind of like Scientology a little bit.
Oh.
I would recommend it. I think there's only 3 episodes.
What is it on?
HBO.
Oh.
That's why I recommended it, because I just started watching it. It's pretty good. But you might have seen like a Dateline or something, but the big thing about them that I remember was that, so it recruited celebrities. Like one of them was one from Smallville. I don't know if you watched that show.
No, I never did, but I know of it.
She and in one of the there was like a sub cult within the cult where everything started to go to shit, and a big thing that I remember happening was that they branded people. Yeah,
that's intense.
But you should watch the show.
Yeah. So Lovecraft Country. There's a Wikipedia right here. Series about a young black man who travels across the segregated 1950s United States in search of his missing father, learning of dark secrets plaguing a town on which famous horror writer H.P. Lovecraft supposedly based the location of many of his fictional tales. So I guess it's kind of based off.
Do you think you accidentally didn't watch the first few episodes?
That's what I was thinking, but no, we like legit. I was it's so much has happened that I don't even know.
Maybe I'll watch it and see if I agree.
I
I've
could
heard
just be
mixed things. I've
very,
heard
very
things
dumb.
that people really like, or I've heard that a lot of people really like it, but I've heard a few that have not liked it at all. So I don't know.
I liked the first episode a lot, but the second episode it felt like the season finale or something. Like
Mm.
I just felt like I missed something. Maybe I did. I don't know. Let me know. Let's talk
There
about it
was
in the
certain
Discord.
parts of this movie where I was like, did I miss something?
Yeah. I
He
mean,
talks so fast, but yeah, we'll talk about it.
and finally, we've been watching Harry Potter.
Oh yeah.
We just finished Order of the Phoenix yesterday. Started Half-Blood Prince yesterday. The only thing I want to mention is spoiler: when Sirius Black dies.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you remember. There's that like archway where there's like souls in it, but only Harry can see it. Harry and Luna, because they've seen dead people, I guess,
Uh-huh.
or people die. There's a whenever he does die, Sirius, uh, Professor Lupin like grabs Harry to like run out of there with him, and there's no audio. It's just like music. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
there's audio, but it's just music. There's no voice. And Kayla was telling me that, or it's just like Harry screaming because obviously he saw his godfather die. Kayla was telling me that it had to cut it because it was like too real. And it was like it would have been too hard for the audiences. And she said that even Emma Watson was like sobbing whenever it was happening. And I was like, man, I wish what's it called? Production companies didn't think audiences were weak. Audiences were
Yeah,
weak,
I
so I
don't.
could
Why would
hear that.
they? I was just thinking that, like, and like, don't you want them? Like, that's a huge moment. Don't you want that to be fucking sad?
Yeah, I was like, I wasn't upset, but I was like, dang, I wish it's like in a bonus feature somewhere, or I want to hear it. I want to watch that scene with Daniel Radcliffe because he's a good actor. And then
Yeah.
after, when because like Dumbledore and Voldemort fight after that, and Voldemort like possesses him or something,
Mm-hmm.
and he's just like crawling around in the on the ground, and like that's a good like he's good. He's very good.
But fun fact, they had to cut out. No, I'm kidding. that is kind of annoying. There. Oh man. So I can be a judgy bitch sometimes, but yeah, I saw this one TikTok of I see a lot of TikToks of people like, oh, I showed my husband, or oh, I showed my wife blank for the first time, and I was watching one about Inside Out, and I was like, I don't know, maybe I just maybe it kind of feels like I don't think I'm judging them. Like I'm not like, oh my god, why is he crying? But part of me was like, it was kind of like I felt like an alien that was observing human emotion for the first time, where I was like, what about this is making you cry? Like I don't like I just don't get it. So like a psycho, but like yeah, it's that one part, and I will never understand in Inside Out that one part where that elephant looking thing like disappears. I guess dies. I don't know, but like it is sad. But I've seen so many like such huge reactions to that scene, and I was like, I how what? Like I don't get it. But maybe it's just not for me. I don't know. Because I
I
feel
could
like if
explain
they
it, but
did
we'd be
show,
here a while.
it was emotional for you too.
No, like not really, but I could see it getting emotional.
But people like sobbing. Like I
Yeah,
get
because it's
a couple of tears falling, but like full on sobbing.
yeah, because it's like that donkey, whatever the hell
I want to say
was like
elephant, but he was in the
it
movie for like
was
10 minutes. We didn't even
yeah,
have a chance to get attached to him. I haven't seen the movie in a long time, so I could be
but
lying.
she was attached to him because it was like one of her first imaginary friends, right? And like, so think about,
but maybe it's just maybe it's like relating to stuff, because I've never had that before. I've never had an imaginary friend. But the part of that movie that does make me emotional, not to the point where I saw, but to the point where I almost cry, which is for me is very emotional, is the part where her parents are asking her like what is wrong and she can't tell them and she just starts like crying. That part is emotional to me.
Well, the other thing is like she forgot him. Like she forgot such a big part of what made her her. I think that's the sad part, is like there's something that helped you get through something that you forgot about, that you just don't remember anymore. I think that's the sad part.
Maybe that does make sense, because I'm like the most non-nostalgic person that I know.
Yeah, it's like
I don't have nostalgia for like anything.
Yeah, that's what I'd say.
Okay. I don't know. I mean, that's why I don't want to make it seem like I'm making fun of that guy for crying or anybody that cries that much. I just literally sometimes I look at the way people react to stuff, and I'm like, I truly don't understand how you had that reaction. Like going back to Twilight, whenever I was in the theater and all those girls gasped, I'm like, yeah, that's exactly what he was going to say. What are you talking about? You know, like it was just
a psychopath.
Yeah, I don't know. Like of course he wants her to marry. It just didn't make any sense, the kind of reactions people have. But maybe I just need to study human emotion so I can fully understand what's happening.
Yeah,
because I don't get it.
That's it. That's all I got.
Maybe I should let me leave a note for my therapist. I need to unpack that. All right. Oh, the only movie news I have is that
I know what this is. The Boy. What the hell, bro?
So, okay, but I mean, this isn't funny at all. But I remember getting on Twitter a couple of days ago, and it said that the only headline I saw was that the Batman production was paused, which I thought they were almost done with it because they put out a trailer, but I guess
it's
not.
Like 25% filmed or something like that.
Yeah, I guess. But they started production back up, and I was like, well, that's a dumb idea. They said that they paused it, and I was like, yeah, of course. Of course you paused it. Because they said a crew member tested positive for coronavirus. And I was like, oh, that kind of sucks. And then I got off of Twitter. I don't really get on Twitter that much anymore. I get on like maybe twice a day. And I got back on. And I saw a tweet that said Robert Pattinson is confirmed as the person who tested positive. And I mean, like I said, this isn't funny, but the funny part of it to me was that they tried to blame a crew member.
Right. I thought it like same exact thing where I read the first headline.
I don't know, just
some gaffer, and he's like hanging out with his buds on a Saturday.
No, it's the Batman.
Batman is sick.
I hope he's okay. I mean, I love. If you don't know by now, I love Robert Pattinson.
If The Rock can get it and his family, it's anyone now.
I didn't realize that either, and because I saw that he was like talking in some video, but I just like scrolled past it because I didn't understand. I thought it was like an ad. And then people were like, yeah, The Rock got it and his whole family, and I was like, oh god, none of us are safe.
I think they recovered though.
Yeah, I think they're fine. But that just I mean, I don't know if they intended to do that, but that was hilarious to me that they were like a crew member, a lowly crew member. It was the fucking star of the movie. Oh man, I hope he's okay. But yeah, I hope he didn't give it to anybody else.
Tenet's out. I mean, that's kind of movie news, but
I guess. I don't know. I'm not even interested in seeing it, to be honest.
Man, they're really trying to get people to see it because
did you see that Tom Cruise?
No, what happened?
Well, I'm gonna send it in the Discord, but I didn't watch it fully, but I saw there's a video of Tom Cruise where he's like, he went to go see Tenet in IMAX theater, and they did like a video of him going to see it, and then this comedian that I love I think his name is Demi. Oh, God, I don't know how to pronounce his last name. But I'll send it in the Discord. But he does like a parody of it, of him going to see it, but like in a drive-through, and it's
Uh,
so funny.
no, what I was gonna say was, what was I gonna say? Oh, I never get notifications on my phone ever,
Yeah.
but I got one today while I was eating dinner,
Hmm.
and it was from Regal. I was like, why the hell is Regal sending me a push? It was like, see Tenet now and entered to win a life or a year full of movies. I'm like, man, they're really trying to get people to see this.
But also, I mean, never mind.
And that's that on that.
Right.
Strange,
But
true.
true. All right. Let's take a quick break and we'll be back to talk about the movie. We explore James Brown's rise from extreme poverty to become one of the most influential musicians in history in Get On Up. Directed by Tate Taylor, story by, these are the most amazing names ever, so be ready for them. Story by Stephen Bagelman,
Oh
Jez
yeah.
Butterworth, and John Henry Butterworth. Written by Jez Butterworth and John Henry Butterworth, starring Chadwick Boseman, Nelson Ellis, and Dan Aykroyd. It had an estimated budget of about $30 million. Opening weekend, it made about $13.5 million. In the US, it grossed about $30.7 million. And worldwide, it made about $33.4 million. Critics gave it a 6.9 out of 10 on IMDb, an 80% on Rotten Tomatoes, and a 71% on Metacritic.
That ain't bad.
Yeah, and honestly, I thought it would have had more of a budget. So
Yeah, I was gonna say like 50s, 60s.
Yeah. I think I read something, I didn't keep it in because I was like, nah, but I read something that it was supposed to be made for more, but then they end up having to like compromise and use less money. But I don't think I realized, I didn't recognize that because the production felt super high quality to me.
It did.
All right. So we start with James Brown when he's older. I really love this shot of him walking backstage in such a really cool like lighting situation where there's a bunch of spotlights just like spaced out and he's walking in this really cool red suit and it's barely showing his face, but you can see it's Chadwick with the prosthetics on being a little bit older and you can kind of tell the age. Like I thought it would be hard to follow the timeline because they cut back and forth so much. But for me, it was super easy to tell what age he was by his hairstyle.
Yeah,
Because the James Brown that they show us at the beginning is the one that I recognize. Because I think when I had the ability to know who that was, he had that hairstyle.
yeah, the like bob almost.
Yeah, it's like super. Yeah, it's like a little curly bob, wavy bob. Um, Yeah, but the prosthetics, at this moment we don't see them super heavily, but I don't think they don't look that bad.
Yeah, it's all right.
It's a little distracting just because I already know what Chadwick looks like, so it's kind of hard to like look you know what I mean? Like look past that, but not bad.
Especially because I mean, in the beginning you can't see it like you said just because of the way Mr. Brown is walking. And you don't see it again to the end, but and like I think that's what hurts it the most is because you see like Chadwick without the prosthetic throughout the movie and then it's kind of jarring at the end.
Yeah.
Because they age so fast in the timeline. But I was kind of scared because I'm just kind of tired of like the Bohemian Rhapsody,
Oh
the
my
Rocket
god,
Man.
yes. Okay.
Like
Let's talk about it. So, I think that's why I avoided watching this movie so much or for so long because the only I can't think of another musician biopic besides Walk the Line that I actually like. There could be one, but I can't think of one right now.
and they all start the same, right?
Oh my
Like
god, yes.
And
It's like flash
why?
forward. I think Walk the Line is the only one that does that well. I mean, this one I think does it well too, but that one is like it starts at Folsom Prison, and then eventually we get back to it at the end, but it doesn't feel like gimmicky. But this one, it surprisingly, it has the same look of a Bohemian Rhapsody and Rocket Man. You know, it has that same kind of like, I don't know how to explain it other than like cinematography and just the way it was shot looks so similar. So I think that scared me, but I guess to spoil my feelings about it, it is not like those movies at all. It's like way better. Like so much better. But
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. Maybe that's something that we can unpack at the end is like why Bohemian. I think Bohemian Rhapsody is just victim to bad filmmaking in general. Rocket
Definitely
Man,
bad editing.
oh my god. Yeah, and also like directing too, and Rocket Man, I don't really, that one was just boring to me.
Yeah.
Why are you laughing?
I don't know. I just
Which is so strange because like all of these movies are about, not even Walk the Line, like take that out of the equation, but like if we're talking about these three movies, are about the most eccentric and most exciting people in music. And two
Mhm.
of the three happened to be so goddamn boring that I wanted to leave. I didn't watch Rocket Man. I watched it at home, but I watched Bohemian Rhapsody in theaters and I wanted to leave. I was like, this is so fucking boring.
Yeah. I just I see why they do it, but I'm just tired of the same like template for these musician biopics.
Oh yeah,
It's like,
it's like a copy and paste.
yeah,
I will
it
say though, I
really,
feel like if we're talking about the timeline, Get On Up was before all of these.
yeah, that's
So
very true.
I think we have to give it the credit of it is overplayed, but
It
I
did it.
wouldn't give that same critique to Get On Up because I don't think it like maybe I don't know if it made the mold, but it kind of perfected it. If that makes sense.
Yeah, it did jump between the different points of in his life.
All the time, yeah.
Every single step of the way through, not like Bohemian Rhapsody or Rocket Man, where it was very,
It was linear until the beginning or something, right?
here's a apex performance, and let's go back to the beginning, and then we'll get all the way to the end again.
I do agree though. If there is another biopic made, if you started a fucking concert, I'm leaving.
Yeah, it's kind of,
All right, so after this but this is, I will give it the credit too, this was super short.
yeah.
So, and it was just him walking, it wasn't the concert. So we cut to 1988 in Augusta, Georgia. James, well, okay, let me ask you a question. In my notes, just because it was quicker, I referred to him as James. But do you think we should call him Mr. Brown the whole way?
Mr. Brown. Yeah, I
Okay.
called him Mr. Brown. We
Because I read
do what he would want.
because I thought that was just a joke at the beginning, but then I was reading up on him and there was only one person, and that was Ben, was Dan Aykroyd. He was the only person that didn't call him Mr. Brown. Everybody else had to call him Mr. Brown.
Yeah, we got to call him Mr. Brown.
All right, so Mr. Brown drives up to a building with his own music blasting, which is fucking hilarious. Oh, and this is the old makeup too, but it's
Right.
before this concert. And he's wearing an amazing like emerald green tracksuit that I need. Do you remember when tracksuits were like a thing? I don't
Let's
know.
bring it
I think
back.
it was before you.
We're gonna make some. I'd actually be a perfect brother sister show first line of merch. That green emerald tracksuit
I kind of would.
dropping
Love it.
2021.
And so he's walking into this building, and I didn't know what it was at this point. I think it was a recording studio. It was like his business that he owned.
Yeah, I think it was a like It was just like a strip mall kind of, and he owned all the buildings there, I guess.
Yeah. And so he walks into his restroom and then he immediately walks back out because he's pissed that somebody has used his bathroom. He walks into and I didn't even mention there's a meeting going on. I don't know what the fuck they're talking about, but it's a bunch of people in his building just having a meeting. So he walks into that meeting. He kind of just busts into that meeting with a fucking shotgun, and he's like yelling and just basically just upset that somebody has used his restroom. And so mad that I don't know if he meant to, but he shoots a hole into the ceiling and
I don't
he's like,
think
oh,
he did.
somebody's got to fix that. And all of this because some random lady went and shit in his bathroom. And honestly, I mean, it's an overreaction for sure, but I honestly get it. I would be pissed too.
Especially to get to that level of fame and some random white lady just poops
Shits
in
in
your
your
toilet.
bathroom. And he has this whole speech too that's like he doesn't just yell at them, he has an entire speech just talking about how like why don't you shit at home.
Yeah, he's like talking about pooping in church or something like that.
Yeah. And he's I don't know, so he's just going off like on a tangent. And there's this moment where he's talking to this lady who he knows shit in his bathroom, and he quickly looks directly at the camera, which kind of startled me. I didn't know it was this kind of movie. But I have a quote that I really like that he said. He said, quote, "You may not own my records, but any music you listen to has a little bit of me in it," which is very,
Mr. Brown.
very true.
Man, we'll talk about it later, but yeah. Yeah, that's so true.
But yeah, I really love the shift of breaking the fourth wall. I don't remember. I usually don't like when it happens, but I do like how they did it in this movie. They do it sparingly, and I think it's very. I don't know if you've seen Fleabag, but people that have listened that's seen Fleabag, it is kind of like that, where instead of him just giving exposition, like explaining who he is, or there's moments where he explains certain like concepts that he's talking about or that the movie's trying to display, but he also does it to like for a lot of jokes. Like, do you remember there was a couple of times where he just looks at the camera like do you see what's happening? Like,
yeah, like a gym look.
yeah, and I really God, Fleabag is so good. Fleabag kind of perfected this, but this movie does it really well, where they do it, like I said, sparingly. It's not overbearing. It's not every single scene, but when they do it, it kind of like I kind of forgot that they did it in this movie, and so when they do it again, it still has that same like fresh feeling of like, oh, he's talking to me.
Right.
Yes, Mr. Brown. Then we have another cut to 1968, and he's performing for soldiers in Vietnam. I feel like this is my favorite scene of the entire movie, where they're flying to Vietnam and their plane is just like going straight through a war zone. And James, Mr. Brown looks super unbothered. He just is like talking to the pilot, which is very much me. I feel like I just want to talk to people, even if it's a pilot that's flying a plane in a war zone. He's just chatting them up. It's so funny. And I wrote down my favorite line. So he, after he's done talking to the pilot, he goes to the back, like where his band and like other soldiers are sitting at, and he says, "Fellas, we're under attack now."
Like it wasn't obvious.
Yeah. I think one of the guys, the guy from The Office, I think his name is Pee Wee in the movie.
No, that's not Pee Wee.
Oh, is it not?
Pee Wee
Then
is.
IMDb was incorrect because they led me astray. Well, I'm gonna call him Daryl.
No, it's like something with an M. I don't remember.
Oh, okay. But one of them says like, "Well, no shit." And he's just standing. It kind of reminds me of The Old Guard when Charlize is just like standing in the plane. God, it's so fucking funny. And then another, God, the scene is perfect. I'm gonna watch this scene right after we finish recording because it is so fucking funny. Um, so after he like sits down and he looks out the window and he sees that one of the propellers is on fire, and he yells, "Y'all better put this out!" Oh God, it's so funny.
It's so funny throughout this movie.
Yeah, God, it made me like every time I laughed in this movie. I also got like really sad because then I remembered, that Chadwick Boseman passed away, but I just it reminds me of because I don't know if in Black Panther he has like some funny parts, but in this movie he has so many parts where he can be funny,
So
and it
many.
was so nice to see that. I think I'm really glad that I picked this movie to watch because it made me like laugh a lot. Like him and Nelson Ellis, which I'll talk about a little bit later, who both passed away. They had so many funny parts and just great acting parts in this movie. So it was like, I don't know, it was just super nice to see. I loved it. Yeah, and so the plane lands and the scene just continues to be fucking amazing. So they're like walking to their show, and the whole time he's just complaining about being shot down. But the way he's complaining about it is like if he found hair in his meal or something. He's
Right.
like, this can't happen again, y'all. Like, oh God, he's so funny. After that, we cut to him as a kid in 1939, and I was so surprised that Viola's in this movie. I had no
Okay.
idea.
I don't know if I've seen this movie before. I don't think I've seen it in its entirety, but I've seen some scenes before. The scene you're about to talk about, I know I've seen before, and I remembered what was going to happen. I was like, man, that's so sad. But yeah, keep on going.
Are you talking about the where they like were having a fight and then they just end up making out?
Yeah, that and when she
Oh, that's a little bit later.
yeah.
But
But
yeah.
both of these.
So they have that, yeah, they kind of show like his parents fighting and then just having like a really tumultuous relationship. After that, I should say I think this happened before, but after that there's a lot of cuts, and this movie just has so many cuts that it's kind of hard to keep track of them all. Um, but some of the cuts they have are between an interview that his bandmate, I think it was Bobby, who was played by actor Nelson Ellis, he's like talking about Mr. Brown, and he's kind of giving like explanation for what's happening. But just as a quick aside, like I've mentioned before, we lost Nelson Ellis in 2017. He plays the bandmate Bobby, his like best friend throughout the entire movie. And just to give an example of like what else Nelson was in, his filmography includes the Stanford Prison Experiment, Lee Daniels' The Butler, The Help, and a movie that I really love called Little Boxes. It's like a little indie. I think it's on Netflix, maybe. It's somewhere streaming. Um, but most notably to me and to probably my mom, and definitely a lot of people, but to us too, he was in True Blood, and he played probably one of my favorite characters in television, just history, Lafayette. And yeah, I don't know. Like if you probably have seen on Twitter, there's a video that gets passed around like every so often. It starts trending of these guys being really mean to him because I think in the show he plays a diner cook. Do you know what I'm talking about?
No, I've never seen the show.
Well, if you watch the scene, it's such a good scene, and he's so fucking funny in that show, and it's just an amazing character. But yeah, just wanted to have a little tribute to him. But I would definitely recommend truly anything he's been in. He was amazing, and even if it was a small part, I loved seeing him. Yeah, so after that, cut to 1964, and we're backstage at a performance. This is where we meet Dan Aykroyd's character, and I think his name is Ben. I don't remember his full name, but he's kind of his like manager. So he tells Mr. Brown that they want the Rolling Stones to close the show, instead of him, and he is like, Mr. Brown is just not having it. He is
Not
super
at all.
pissed. And a couple of fun facts about this scene. So Dan Aykroyd and the real James Brown appeared together in the Blues Brothers movie in 1980. They also appeared together in Dr. Detroit and Blues Brothers 2000. So I wonder what it was like to act with the real James Brown and then to act with Chadwick Boseman. That must have been really weird. The next fun fact is in the scene preceding this show, when when Mr. Brown, excuse me, is discussing the Rolling Stones with what's his name, Dan Aykroyd. The people, do you know who the people in the back? Did you see that like band in the background, like rehearsing whenever they're walking through? It's kind of
No.
quick, but they walk past a room. It's kind of like a dressing room with a band in there rehearsing a song, and that's supposed to be the Beach Boys.
Oh, good for them.
The last fun fact is James Brown learns that the Rolling Stones will close the TV show, not him. Ben Bart says the band will soon be forgotten. 50 years later, the Stones are still performing, and frontman Mick Jagger is actually one of the film's executive music producer and one of the main producers. I don't know if you watch the credits. I watched the credits to look at the pictures, but it does have his name on there. And then we see the actual, I think we see a performance. Yeah, so we see one of the first performances of the movie. And a fun fact about Chadwick Boseman's performance is that he did all of the dancing. Every single part where he's dancing, it's him.
He's good too.
So fucking good. And Chadwick Boseman also trained for 2 months to learn how to sing and dance properly to play the part.
That's interesting. Did he do any of the singing? That's when I
don't know. I didn't look that up specifically. I assumed not because it sounded so much like James Brown, but I have no idea.
Yeah, that's why I was kind of curious.
I guess I should have looked that up, but I don't know if you want to look it up while we're talking right now. But
I'll look it up.
The dancing, especially the one. There's so many like just moves that James Brown is known for, but the one that I would be the most nervous for was the splits that he used to always do.
Yeah,
that was so hard. And well, we'll get to it, but there's a scene where he like during the Christmas performance right after, and he can't get up, and he's like, I'm not about to show, or no, he didn't like. I think he tore his pants. That's why he didn't get up. And he's like, I'm not about to show all these white people in my torn pants.
He says a really, really funny line where it's like, my bass and drums are all out on this floor or something. That got me.
Yeah, so after the first performance, we cut to him as a kid. Oh, yeah, this is the scene you're talking about. So he's like just pulling on somebody's legs, and it's a man who is hanging.
Yeah.
Ugh. And then he just like runs away, and he catches his parents having another fight, but this one is super violent, and Viola decides that she's gonna leave, and she tries to take him with her, but the dad threatens her with a gun, so she has to leave him.
Mm-hmm.
But what sucks is I knew watching that scene, I was like, that's not how he's gonna remember it. I bet he's just gonna remember her leaving.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard not to. You're so young.
Yeah. But then after this, that's when we cut to the Christmas show that we were talking about. And I love the transition. They do another fourth wall break where he's talking to the camera and he's saying, or they're like, he's dancing. Him and his bandmates are dancing, and they're showing all the white people that are just like clapping and watching him. And he's like, man, he like wants to be at a different, I think it was like in the 50s. They cut to just a quick snippet of one of his shows, and it does look so much more fun.
Right.
Then we cut back to him as a kid, and his dad leaves him with Octavia Spencer, who I also did not know was in this movie.
Yeah, forgot about that.
And I should have looked up the wording of this. I don't know exactly what to call this place that she owns. Because him, and then I think she calls him Little Junior, and then she has another kid named Big Junior. So both of the juniors, they would go around to the soldiers saying "pretty ladies and whiskey." I think that's what they were saying, right?
Yeah.
And so I don't know if it's called a bar. I don't know. I didn't want to call it a brothel exactly because I don't really know what it's supposed to be called. But either way, they have pretty ladies and they have whiskey. What else do you need? After this, there's like a couple of scenes of him as a kid, and he walks into a church, which I also really love this scene, where he just sees a bunch of people singing and dancing, and he starts to join in with them. And what I really love is there's I also don't know the wording of this. I'm going to call him a preacher, the head of the church. He's like dancing around on the stage, and he has kind of a similar look to what Mr. Brown looks like later in the movie. He has the same kind of hair, like a suit, and I really love that he kind of you show him embody that at the end. And we also have another at the end, whenever they have a bunch of flashes throughout the movie, they have a flash of that man again.
Yeah. I will say on the credits or the captions, it says evangelist.
Evangelist, okay.
That's what it says. According
yeah,
to
I don't know the religious like
HBO's
leader names, so I don't want to offend or get them wrong.
He's just singing and preaching.
Yeah, it looks like an amazing time. It's an all white church. I think everybody's wearing white, and the decorations are super pretty. It just looks like an overall
They're having
great
a fun time.
Yeah, it's a church I want to go to, honestly.
Jamming out.
Then we cut to 1949, where he's stealing a suit and being chased by police. And so there's this one scene where he runs into the bushes and the police is shooting at him, and I'm assuming they meant to miss him because he was like 2 feet away from him, and he completely missed him, and he just like stops and I guess just lets them take him in. So while he's in prison, we see that there's a gospel group singing in their like mess hall, I don't know, like cafeteria, whatever, and everybody's just like dancing while they're singing, and he joins in, and Bobby is in the group, and James gets in a fight, I think because he's singing, and the guy in front of him is like mad at him. I don't know exactly why they fight, but they get in a fight. After this, he gets sent to the nurse, and then Bobby is there because he says that somebody threw something, so he had to also get checked out. They then get in a conversation and talking about why Mr. Brown is in there, and they start singing together, which is a really cool moment. After this, and then this is when I should have looked into this like rule. But he mentions, because I think he's asking him how long Bobby asked Mr. Brown how long he's gonna be in there, and he says like 5 to 13 years, like a crazy amount for stealing a suit. And he says he was like, well, what about parole? And he says, well, I don't really have a home to give them an address to, so I have to stay here, which is insane to me.
Extremely.
Because what if he lived on his own? Like, that doesn't make any sense. But so we cut to Bobby talking to his mom, trying to help him because he's like, appealing to his mother's Christian side, saying like, come on, we have to be good people. And so we cut to Mr. Brown coming to their house and eating dinner with them because their family helps him because they don't want him to be stuck in prison, which is super nice.
Yeah, I can't imagine just doing that, but it's a different time.
Yeah, and I mean, I think Bobby just knew from that moment, like him sitting with him and singing with him, I think he just knew. He was like, yeah, I need to help this guy. He's obviously not a danger to anybody. He's stealing a suit, like, come on. And then, like I said, they let him stay with him, but Bobby finds Mr. Brown sleeping with his sister.
Harmonizing,
my bad, sorry. Which is startling to say the least. Then we cut to them. So I didn't realize who. So we cut to a concert, like at a bar kind of place or a concert hall, and I didn't realize, I knew the song, but I didn't realize who that was, so I had to look it up. And it was Little Richard. He was singing, I think it was called Tutti Frutti. And
Tutti Frutti.
he's playing a show, and then after he leaves, they take his equipment and they just start to play music.
Mm-hmm.
And fun fact about this, when James and the Flames, which is their band name, or I think it was just the Famous Flames at this point,
Yeah.
when they go on stage to perform their rendition of Caledonia, the music used was an actual recording of the real James Brown rendition. The original includes a horn section, which was removed because the Flames didn't have a horn section in the film.
Caledonia.
Such a good song. I mean, I am obviously super familiar with his music, but it was so nice. Okay, I guess we can go into a little aside on this one, because the one thing that made me want to watch those other movies like Rocketman, Bohemian Rhapsody was the music, right? And
Mm-hmm.
but I feel like that was the only thing those movies had going for it. This one had a cohesive story, and it was so nice to like, I feel like when I was watching Bohemian Rhapsody, I know mom likes that movie, so she's going to be so pissed, but I feel like I was just waiting for the next song every time. I did not care
Right.
about the story at all. This one felt so, it just felt so fun to like be so caught up in the story and then hear good music, or at least like this song I didn't know, so it was nice to hear like that song and be like, oh, that's so cool, and then be surprised by the hits that I do know. And I think that's a perfect way you need to do a biopic like this. Like, you can't just rely on the music to get people to want to pay attention.
Yeah.
And it felt like Bohemian Rhapsody was just like a 2-hour long music video that I didn't ask for. Like, if I just want to watch music videos from Queen, I'm just going to look it up, you know?
Yeah, it also helps that Mr. Brown is a super interesting person.
And he's so funny, and yeah, like he's such a good character.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's. Do you remember the first song you heard by Mr. Brown?
Ooh. I don't know.
I know mine. What do you think?
Probably. I don't think it's Get On Up. I think it's Cold Sweat, maybe.
Mine's definitely Get On Up. And
Wait,
it
is it from a movie?
It's
Is it from Robots?
It's from Robots. I don't know if you guys have ever seen Robots.
I fucking knew it.
But at the end of Robots,
yeah,
get up off of that thing. Dance, you feel better. That's so good. Carry on.
I think I have one of his records. I don't know. Yeah. So after this, he meets up with, because Little Richard doesn't like, I thought he was going to kick him off stage or be like really pissed. But instead he like meets up with him at we cut to like him at, I think Little Richard had like a job at like a hamburger stand or something. Yeah. At this time he wasn't super famous. And so he just is sitting with James Brown, and he's giving him advice on how to make it big. He actually, it's not just advice. He literally tells him, "Hey, you need to like record. Go to this guy, so you can pay this much. Record something, send it to this guy." Like, he gives him such specific advice and is writing everything down. It's like so much better. It's kind of like a mentor, but he's literally just telling him what to do. It's so fucking nice.
It's very funny.
And then after, Richard asks him about what happened to him, and then they cut, I think he like mentioned something like that, and they cut to this scene that I really like. But it's kind of well, it's pretty disturbing, but they turn it into a really cool scene where there's a bunch of just old rich white people, and they have a bunch of young black kids like lined up with, like, they're painting numbers on their chest or on their stomachs.
Oh my goodness,
And they're
I forgot about this.
blindfolded, and they have like one boxing, what do you call it, like, glove, and then they have one hand tied behind their backs, and they're just making them fight for their enjoyment. Like, fucking disgusting. And there's a band playing. Like I said, it's disgusting. But there's a moment where he gets knocked down, because I think James, or Mr. Brown at this point, it's young James Brown, where he has he has a 1 on his chest, I think, and he gets knocked down. I think he's like one of the last few of them. And the blindfold gets knocked off of his face, and he only hears and he only sees the band that's playing.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing too is that this band is only, from what I could tell, it was only black men, and you can see the like disgust and disdain on their face, but they just have to like keep playing.
Yeah.
But yeah, so he is looking at them, and I think it's the music from the song "Get On Up" with not the lyrics, but I think it's the same melody, maybe.
Whoa.
And he's knocked down.
And he has to get on up.
Yeah.
And dance until he feels better.
But he's fighting. Yeah.
And then he wins.
And then he wins. As soon as that happened, I mean, first the plane scene, I was like, this is my movie. But that happened, and I was like, oh my God. So fucking good. Because I hate those movies too, where it feels like I feel like in I'm just talking so much shit about this movie, but it deserves it. Like in Bohemian Rhapsody, when they're like writing a song, they're like, well, what if we have a rhapsody and it's Bohemian? Like that's how they describe to us that they came up with that song. You know, it makes them look super easy or whatever. But this,
right.
I don't know. I feel like I feel like what that movie did wrong is they thought we wanted to know how each song came to be. That's not what we want. We want to know about these people, you know? Like it doesn't make sense to do that. And so this movie, I think that one scene perfectly shows what this movie did. That it didn't have to, it showed, it didn't tell. You know what I mean? Like it showed us who he was. It showed us how, like, why he came to music. It showed us him as a person, and I think that's what all these other movies were missing.
And how he got to where he was.
Yeah, I mean the music is great, but the music is literally the soundtrack. Like we need to know the actual story. But yeah, sorry, little tangent. Oh, so we cut to Mr. Brown and Bobby, where they're like at a diner or something, and they're trying to figure out how to get to their gig, and James just like casually says that he got a girl pregnant, and then they just like move on.
Yeah.
They're like, okay, and then after that, like in rapid succession, they meet a record exec. I think, so he walks in and he's asking for them, and they start to hide. Because Mr. Brown's like, I think that's my parole officer. And then he says that he's with the record. Yeah. And then he says that they're with a record label, and they're like, huh? So after this, they make their record and they meet Dan Aykroyd. And I think this is after they have a recording session, and the guy that's like the head of the studio or the head of the record label is like, he's just singing the same goddamn word over again. Like, why do we need this guy? And he's like, or why do we need this band? And he's like, you need James Brown. And whenever he first meets Dan Aykroyd is kind of where the problem starts. Because they tell him that they want him to be like, they basically just want him, is what they're telling him. That they don't need the famous flames, they just need him. And so they show that, and then they show them telling the band in such a shitty way. They basically show them a record with it printed on saying James and his famous flames. And they're like,
that's the biggest gut punch ever.
Exactly. They're kind of like, what the fuck?
And they say too, like, we don't need you. Like,
we just want him.
You can stay if you want, but like, it doesn't really matter. Super messed up.
The thing that I didn't expect though is when they were like, we didn't want y'all at all. We just wanted James, or we didn't want the flames part at all. But James said that he, like, for him to stay, they agreed on a compromise where it would be James and the Famous Flames. So he did
Right.
fight for them. I mean, I understand the like why they would be upset, because they basically told them, you can stay on, but you're going to be his employee.
Yeah.
But I mean, I get it. I completely get it, because they started the band with him, and if it wasn't for them, then maybe he wouldn't have been what he was. But he did kind of fight for them. I don't know. I get it, but it's messy when you do business with friends.
It is. It really is.
Like I think they say at a certain point, it's show business, so you got to put on a show, but it's also a fucking business. I don't know if it's in the movie or if I just saw that somewhere else, but it's very true.
Yeah, he talks about it. It's like right after this, because they all leave and it's like him. He's working hard, the hardest man in show business, or working. What is it? The hardest man. Hardest working man in show business.
I mean, we can't prove that, Anthony, but we can prove that he's the hardest working man in show business. But yeah. And then, so after this is a scene that really angers me, where, like you said, he is so business savvy to where the next part where he's talking to the record execs and he's saying, I think he's trying to get them to do a live album, which I don't know if I wonder if they've done it before, or no, I think they have, and they just said it's too expensive. And they are super racist, which is not surprising, because they tell him that his fans, which are majority Black people, can't afford to go. I think they said they can't afford to buy records.
They said it in a super weird way, where it's like, your audience doesn't have the resources.
But the thing that made me super sad is that mentality is still like thriving in Hollywood. People still believe that.
Yeah.
Especially, I mean, any underserved community, but like speaking on my personal experience and the stuff I've researched on my own is about the Latino community, like specifically, that people think like the mentality in Hollywood is that the reason they don't put Latinos in movies is because they don't show up for movies, when that is completely not true. I don't know what the statistic is now, but our community is like one of the biggest audiences in movie theaters that go to the movies.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
And so they think, and it also ties to Black Panther in a lot of ways, because that was a huge conversation happening whenever that came out, where people are like, well, I hope this does well so we can make movies with an all Black cast. And we're like, yeah, well, it's gonna do well. You guys just are racist and don't think it will do well. Or you guys are just, why is like the casting in Hollywood contingent on one movie? It makes no sense. It's like, it's kind of like them thinking, if James Brown doesn't get people to buy his records, then no Black people buy records. Like, it doesn't make any sense. It's so stupid. But yeah, sorry, another little rant, but it just made me really sad hearing that. And I'm like, yeah, but that people still fucking think that. It's cloaked in so many other like ways. They don't, like, you know, instead of saying that, they said they don't have resources. Like, I'm assuming they do that, and it's more cloaked now in how they say it.
Yeah. Sucks.
And so he decides he's just gonna pay for his own damn show at the Apollo. And of course it's a fucking success, because we cut to it and it's packed. Everybody loves it. Even the execs are having a great time. And then when we're backstage after the show, his mom shows up. And I was shook.
Okay, one thing I'll say.
I thought you were crying.
No, I'm laughing because like, this movie has a lot of like cliches almost.
Yeah.
The one I'm thinking of is where they start a story and then like in the middle of it they cut to a flashback, and then they like pertains to what they stopped, like the original story, and then it cuts back to it to like finish it. So it gives you the information that you need to complete it. it does that in so many different layers, though. Like the first
I
one,
liked it a lot.
I just like I kind of got lost. Like it's just me. I
Mm,
don't know if it's me, my attention span. Like I think like the first one is obviously when Mr. Brown's walking in one of his later shows with the like as an older gentleman, and then it cuts to younger Mr. Brown. But the one where his mom comes, that's another one that is almost the span of the movie too.
mm, yeah,
Like they don't after that they don't cut to him seeing his mom and talking to his mom for like a long time, a
I
very long
yeah,
time.
I like this one though because but it kind of I think it flows pretty well though.
Yeah, I think
Because I think we like to think our lives are linear, but like there's certain things that are affecting me right now, like past traumas that affect me now that I've never thought of in like 10 years. You know what I mean? Like in the
mhm,
movie of my life, it might do that where I don't like the thing happens, I don't think about it for years, and then something triggers it to where like it's a flashback to that moment. And you know what I mean? Like, so I think it's true to how our past traumas affect us. That it's not, it could flare up in a certain like maybe he hasn't thought of the fact that he saw so I guess I'll talk about the next scene talking about this, but they cut to him when he's a kid and he's like living with Octavia Spencer at this point, but he sees his mom out like on the town with some random guy and he calls her name. He's like, "Hey mom, it's me." And she says that she doesn't know who he is. And I feel like it could be true that he hadn't thought about that in years until he saw her.
right.
You know what I mean? So like and then when we cut to the scene later where he's talking to her, it just fits the story or maybe they're trying to say that that was resolved. I don't know. You know what I mean? I get what you mean. I liked it personally, but
No, not to say that I liked it, but I just
oh yeah,
noticed
yeah.
this more so in this movie than any other.
Yeah, it does have a lot of cuts and I thought at first it would be confusing, but it kind of was, but like I don't think you necessarily need to know the full timeline to understand the movie. And they do give you the dates, like they literally write it out for
Hmm.
you, so I don't know.
Yeah.
But like I said, just the hair, just look at the hair and it's unlocked. Then after this is probably the moment I was the most confused and I had to watch the scene many a times. So it's when he has a meeting with Ben, I think it's his manager, and he says he's basically explaining he's like, I've been thinking about something. Why is the promoter paying us? Is like the simple question he asks. And then Ben goes into a whole spiel, like basically what you hear a lot whenever you want to change something in any time, I guess, is when he's like, well, but this is how we've been doing it for years, blah blah blah. And okay, so if you understood this part better, because maybe like you said, maybe it's just my small brain or my small attention span, but what I understood him saying is why the fuck are the promoters paying us when we should be paying them? Because we're the act. They're just promoting us, you know? And so
Right.
basically, what he's saying is that it makes no sense to pay one person who's proven not to understand who his audience is and how to serve his audience when you can pay a DJ in a small town that runs a small radio station and you can pay them instead of giving them a certain like I guess the promoter just gives them whatever money they earned or something, but you pay them a small percentage of your ticket sales to be the sole provider of his music and to promote his concerts. And because he's saying that they'll play the music and then after they're going to give a little promo saying, "Hey, if you like this, James Brown is going to be performing at whatever theater at whatever time on whatever day."
Right.
Um, and it's so fucking smart to go to young DJs who are, like he said, they already fucking love his music and they're already underpaid. So, like, you're just paying them promotion at a lower rate. It's genius. And I can't believe anybody had never thought of that before. Because how I understood it, and like I said, I could be wrong, but this is how I understood it, is that he's saying, why, like, say for instance, like you want to promote a movie, right? Why would you give all of your promotion movie to like a big studio or a Netflix when you could divvy up that money, giving it to smaller theaters or giving it to smaller people to promote? It's kind of like using influencers now, kind of thing. Rather than paying a bunch of money to give to like one big influencer, you can divvy it up so you can like get to smaller markets. That's what I'm understanding that he's saying, but maybe I understood
Yeah.
wrong.
Yeah. The way that's pretty much what I got from it. But also like
He's saying like to run their own kind of thing.
yeah, because the promoters that would pay them, like you said, they didn't really understand the audience and they didn't know who to tell.
Yeah.
Like they didn't know the right people to say, hey, you need to come to the show. But the smaller people, the DJs who worked at these smaller radio companies, they knew the right people, and that's what he was saying. Like they knew the guy who worked at the pool house and
Yeah,
like the
yeah.
guy at the mechanic, whatever. He
He
he knows
understands the
people.
value of word of mouth. You know what? Now I'm realizing the reason I probably really love that is that's literally my job. Like he's
Yeah,
just like explaining kind of what I do. We don't really have a budget in PR, but that's what you do. You like if I'm promoting a hotel, for example, and if I want people to go to the hotel, I could pay a lot of money to NBC or a studio to run a commercial, or I could offer a free night to an influencer and they're going to post about it. And they
right.
know that like their audience trusts them. And their audience, the DJ's audience, is going to trust their taste in music. So that it's a genius. I don't know how anybody didn't understand that. But whenever he's explaining this, well, first of all, it's him talking to the audience again. He's also doing it, he like walks off when Ben's talking, and Ben is talking the whole time that he's gone, which I fucking loved. But I don't know if you caught whenever he was talking to the DJ and the DJ says screw payola. Did you catch that?
Yeah, I didn't know what that was.
Well, you're in luck because I looked it up. So, payola in the music industry is the illegal practice of payment commercial radio in which the song is presented as being part of the normal day's broadcast without announcing that there has been a consideration paid in cash or in kind for its airplay adjacent to the recording's broadcast. The term has come to refer any undisclosed payment made to cast a product in a favorable light, such as obtaining positive reviews. Some radio stations report spins of the newest and most popular songs to industry publications. The number of times the songs are played can influence the perceived popularity of a song. So basically, you're paying to get to the number one spot.
Right.
It's illegal now, but if you remember, I don't know if you remember that whole Justin Bieber shit when he was promoting Yummy.
Yeah, wasn't he like, oh, please stream it, please?
He was like begging people. And
pretty please, will you stream Yummy, please?
Another thing I should have looked up, I talked to Sebastian about it because he's into music, and so he knew what I was talking about. But there's a whole, I guess the new kind of version of that is buying what is it? It's like buying merch bundles. Now if you buy an album, but you also like if a say, I don't know if I should use a real musician, but say a musician is going to buy an album, and like they said, album sales I think somehow is put somehow into the Billboard numbers, because now it's like streams, but it's also album sales. But if you bundle that with like a bunch of merch, so if you say you can buy a record, but you can buy also you can buy a record, you can buy a record with, or I guess, I don't know, a record with like a t-shirt, and then say there's another one where you can buy a record with a t-shirt, a VIP pass, like those all count. There's like a certain way for those to count towards like you being on the number one spot. And so that's like a controversy now about like people saying like that shouldn't count, or I don't know. It's very, very weird. But
I mean, you're still buying the whatever.
yeah, I should have looked more into that, but I was kind of like not that interested. But payola, if you ever hear that, that's what that is. Okay, and so after this, after Mr. Brown tells us like what is happening, what his idea is, Ben's like, that's fine and dandy, but I don't work just for you. And Mr. Brown's like, okay, why? Why don't you just work for me? And then there's another scene of them like, so there's a weird scene of Ben handcuffing a suitcase full of cash to Big Junior's wrist. And as a fun fact, Dan Aykroyd, who plays Ben Bart, when he was Elwood Blues in the Blues Brothers, he walked on stage with the suitcase half handcuffed to his wrist. I don't know when this happened, but he did it one time. Maybe
Dad
mom and
knows.
dad, yeah, they can tell us. But that's like a, I guess, sort of homage to him. After this, we cut to a scene of him at Christmas, and he's like, it's kind of like Halloween, where he's just outside and giving candy apples and money to his neighbors. And this is such a weird scene. Well, while they're out giving out a bunch of stuff, his wife is wearing like a Mrs. Claus outfit, and she's showing some cleavage, and some creepy white man is like looking at her. So Mr. Brown gets like really mad and he tells him to leave. And then when they go inside, she's like happy, saying like, oh, that was a lot of people today. And then he just like hits her, and it's very abrupt, and like he just is mad at her, I guess, for kind of like the whole like blaming her for dressing that way instead of blaming the man for looking at her like that.
Yeah.
But I do, so that moment is really hard to watch. I do like that they included it. And but I also like, not because I liked seeing it, but just I like that they didn't like
Can you hold back?
yeah, they showed like warts and all kind of thing. Like they showed him as he fully was. And I also really like at that point after he hits her, he walks towards the camera, and then he kind of looks at like the camera like he's ashamed.
Yeah.
You know, he looks like, fuck, I didn't mean for y'all to see that kind of thing. That was really jarring to watch, but like I said, I really love the way they use that. Instead of just like moving past it, they make him confront what he did. Yeah.
And it like they hang for a little too. It's like,
yeah, it's really uncomfortable. And she's like on the floor in the background, still like really upset about what he just did. So it's really hard to watch, but it's a really well crafted scene, I think. After this, we're at rehearsal where Mr. Brown is just like berating his band. I'm just gonna like just go past that white couple because I don't really understand their purpose in the movie.
Oh yeah, what the hell was that?
I love Alice and Janney, but I did not understand that whole thing, so I'm just gonna move past it. So he's just like, yeah, he's just being really mean to his band, and after this, a bandmate is having a talk with Bobby about Mr. Brown, saying that he doesn't understand why Bobby takes all of his shit. He's like, why are you enabling this kind of behavior? And he says that he makes a point saying that Mr. Brown gives them more than they deserve, kind of thing, like that being in proximity to him just makes them feel like purposeful and makes them feel better. So they should be thankful for that, which obviously I don't agree with, but I do understand where he's coming from.
Yeah, I personally, I wouldn't feel content with that because he's like I couldn't be the front man, so I'm just gonna step aside and let him and support him. Being the front man, Mr. Brown. I don't know. It's just I see where he was coming from, like you said, but it's just it's kind of sad to be at that point where you're like, I couldn't do this, but I mean, I'm watching it happen right in front of me.
I do think I do like at the end though how, well, I guess we can get to it, but I think I think Bobby was really, I truly think he was content with being that. I think he saw his purpose in being with James Brown and being that person for him, you know? And I
Right.
think I kind of relate to Mr. Brown in this way where it's really hard for him to be sentimental, I think. Like he truly, you can see at the end how much he loved Bobby and how much he needed him, but he was never going to say it.
Oh yeah.
So I do sympathize with that and how him and Bobby were such good matches because Bobby understood that he didn't need Mr. Brown to say it to him, you know?
He
I also
honestly,
love, by the way, that we just are going on with the Mr. Brown thing. I mean,
Mr.
that's did what
Brown.
he want. Like that is what he said he wanted. So I don't feel weird about it. It just sounds funny.
Mr. Brown.
Like we got to pay respects. All right. After this, they're in the middle of recording music when I don't remember who it was, but somebody came into the studio telling them about the killing of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And after this, I think one of them says like we should cancel the concert, and then Mr. Brown's like, no, we should still have the concert. And so we cut to the concert that they do have. And so by this point, they've shown a lot of performances that we've kind of just not talked about because you just got to really watch it. But I do have to say, if you haven't watched this movie, you just have to watch it. Like you have to at least watch the performances because Chadwick Boseman's commitment to every part of who James Brown was, including the dancing, like we mentioned, the singing, like all of it, he did an amazing job. And I've heard people throughout the years saying that it was really sad that he didn't get nominated for an Oscar. And I could never really contribute to that conversation, but now I also feel that too. It is really upsetting because this was such a good performance in every single way.
You could tell he put everything in it.
And it's not too, like, I feel like a lot of the people, a lot of the movies we're talking about, I mean, they're all good performances, I think. But for me, what sets aside Chadwick Boseman's is, it's like, the thing I love is the commitment to the essence of the person. Like, he doesn't really look like James Brown, and they don't really make a point to, like, they only put the prosthetics on whenever he's older to make him look older, but they don't really do anything to his face throughout the rest of the movie. But you don't really need it because to me, like, the voice, the way he talks, the like actions, it feels very James Brown to me. And I mean, I don't, as somebody who's not super familiar with him as a person, I'm sure somebody older can have a better opinion on this, but to me, it feels like such a good and respectful depiction of him.
Yeah. The voice did it for me. Like, I don't know. It was so good.
Oh my God, so good. And the cadence too. I was telling one of my friends that it usually takes me almost double the time to watch these movies for every recording. Because I pause them and I have to do research and I just have to like do it during the watching of the movie. And this one, because it was it was like 2 hours, I think, a little over 2 hours, and he talks so fast and I had to pause so much. So it took me like probably 3 or 4 hours to watch this movie.
Wow.
But I loved every minute of it. That was fine.
Yeah, it's a great movie. Good pick.
So as the performance goes on, people are starting to get on stage, and the police are, I mean, I do understand, you know, for the safety of Mr. Brown that they like want to get them off, but they're being really rough with people. And Mr. Brown tells them to like first he's like, let them come on stage and dance. They just want to dance. But then it starts to get too crazy. Too many people want to like get on stage with him. And he just like takes complete control of the show, and he's like, I can't even get my, I think he said, I can't even get my own people to respect me, kind of thing. And just saying that they just want to have a good time, and y'all need to let him have like start the show and end the show so he can like they can all just have a great time. And yeah, I really like that moment.
Yeah, it's really funny because he's telling him to get down. He's like, everyone just get down. He's like, you want to see the show? And he's like, how are you going to see it from up here?
Oh, yeah.
Or something like that. That was really funny.
And then after that, we start to get a little bit more into the more political part of his life. So he's heading to the White House, and then they show this really cute scene of him having a bunch of kids in his studio singing a song with him, and it's a really nice scene. And then we cut to a super sad scene, where it's the funeral of Ben. Because I love the way they did this scene though, where they first show a coffin, and then they cut his like death scene in between the funeral, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I guess he just died at a heart attack or something at a golf course.
Yeah. And
On the 9.
one thing that I was confused about, so I did a little bit of research on, was whenever they're at the funeral, and he's like, Mr. Brown's there, and he's super emotional, and there's like a pile of dirt and a shovel, and he's like shoveling dirt into the gravesite. I don't know if you've seen that before. I never have. So I looked it up, and they did. Oh, I didn't mention, but on the coffin there is a Star of David, so you can kind of assume that it was Ben because he was Jewish.
Yeah, he said that.
Yeah. And so in the Jewish tradition, when the funeral service is ended, the mourners come forward to fill the grave. Symbolically, this gives the mourners closure as they observe or participate in the filling of the gravesite. One custom is for all people present at the funeral to take the shovel or a spade, held pointing down instead of up, to show the antithesis of death to life, and that this use of the shovel is different from all other uses, to throw 3 shovelfuls of dirt into the grave.
You can tell that he's hurting.
Yeah, it's a really sad scene, because the reason that I really love that scene though is that like they say 3, but he just keeps doing it, and his wife has to kind of tell him to stop. And that was really heartbreaking. And then after this, James shows up to a recording, and one of his bandmates stands up for all of them, asking just for the basic things that they requested, like being paid on time and getting days off. Yeah, and he's just like not having it. And and then they also mentioned, they're like, I know you have to pay back taxes to the IRS. And I looked it up, and apparently, do you want to guess how much he owed in back taxes?
6 million.
4.5, so not as much as you thought.
I was gonna say 4 to begin with.
Yeah.
Dang it.
Allegedly. I'll say allegedly.
Okay.
The next concert scene that they show is truly amazing. I don't remember what song it was, but I do remember thinking that I was watching a concert movie.
Oh, when he's a golden vest?
Yeah. In Paris. The one in Paris where he's like, I love the scene, or when they start the scene, he's like walking on stage, and it's kind of like an out of body experience, whereas they show in the background, it looks like a body double that's like dancing along, and he's talking to us. I don't remember what he's talking about, but then after that, he goes into the performance, and it's so good. And it goes on for a long time. Like, I think the entire length of the song. And like I said, I kind of forgot I was watching a movie, and it just felt like I was watching a performance. It was so fucking good.
It was. He like when he was talking to us, Mr. Brown, he was handing his players cash.
Yeah. Oh, that's one thing I didn't mention, that there's like a running joke throughout the movie that he, like, if there's a small error in something, like if Like, I think there was one scene where the lady that's like his assistant let somebody in his room when he said not to, so she had to pay him $20. So, like, people always had to pay him stuff if they messed up.
You would find them
Find them, yes, yes.
cursing. I want to start doing that.
Yeah, and so there was a funny scene where one of the bandmates, whenever the kids showed up to the studio, and one of the bandmates was like, "Do you think if they mess up, he's gonna find them?"
Mhm.
After this, him and Bobby have a talk, where Bobby tells him that he wants to start doing music, and he's basically saying, like, "I want to be like you. I want to play at the Apollo. You know, I just want to do amazing things." And James or Mr. Brown just gets like really pissed.
Not having it. He's like thinking he's a traitor. Who'd you tell this to? You speaking behind my back. Like you think you could get here.
Yeah,
All
he's
that
like, he
stuff.
basically thinks that he's going behind his back to plan for his future, which is kind of fucked up. But, and then he like accuses him of riding on his coattails, which is messed up. Like he's like, Bobby is put in all of the work to be his right hand man, and then he just thinks that he's doing this for clout kind of thing instead of just wanting to do it because he loves working with him. It's really
Yeah.
messed up.
Honestly, without him, Mr. Brown would still be in jail
Yeah, probably. And then
for stealing that 3-piece suit.
it seems like Bobby is just like, now he's fed up and he kind of breaks up with him, and then Mr. Brown is just like laughing the whole time. And I don't think he actually thought he was going to leave,
Yeah.
because as
That's what he
soon as
says.
because as soon as he leaves, he like stops laughing.
Yeah, he's like, Mr. Bird? Mr. Bird, where you going? Come back here, Mr.
Yeah.
Bird. He says something super messed up to him, like, because Mr. Bird like threatens him. He's like, I'm gonna leave. I'm tired of this. Like, it's enough. He's like, you make it seem like a big thing leaving me by myself. Like no one takes care of Mr. Brown like Mr. Brown.
Yeah.
Something to that effect. It's like, oh,
He just like discredits everything he's ever done for him.
Yeah, super messed up.
And
Then he
this
leaves.
is when we, like you said, this is when we cut back to him seeing his mom backstage at the Apollo. And then he asks her why she chose that night to see him. And she says because she lived there, it was close, and that she heard he was going to be there. And so she was like telling a story about how she basically told somebody that she was proud of her son, you know, like that he's playing at the Apollo. And he said that he doesn't want her to feel proud or tell anybody that she's his mom. Which, oof. But honestly, I think I would have said the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then after that, it's another heartbreaking one where he asks why she's really there, and then they have this look where we know it's for money.
He gives
And
her $100.
yeah.
Yes. He says, I'm gonna have to ask you to leave now.
And she does, but then when she leaves, he tells Bobby to make sure that she's taken care of and to get like anything she wants or anything she needs to get it for her.
It's super weird because like as she's walking out, she turns back and just tells him that he's really pretty and he looks beautiful, and then just walks out.
Which
Sad.
I knew he was going to do that too. I've kind of felt that like this movie is so good at making you feel what they want you to, where I was like pissed at her, and then when she left and she was like happy, you could tell she was genuinely happy to see him. I was like, oh, but like help her.
Yeah.
Which I'm glad he did. And then right after this, we also learned through a phone call that his oldest child, Teddy, died in a car crash. And then right after this, they show a bunch of drug use. Like within one shot, they don't show like a montage of it, but I'm sure that's what contributed heavily to his decline and to like what happens at the end. And then we jump to the scene from the beginning, and then he like where he's in the jumpsuit and then or the tracksuit, and then he gets in another police chase and then eventually gets put in jail. After this, we jump to 1993, where Bobby is like at his house waiting for some pool guy to come, and then Mr. Brown shows up And he basically tells him, I think he tells him he's going to do another show or something. I don't really remember.
Yeah, he tells him he's going to do a show in town, and he invites him and his ex-wife, I believe,
Yeah.
Mr. Bird's current wife, or wife,
Wait,
to come,
when?
and he's like, "Ah, I
That's
can't."
not Mr. Brown's ex-wife.
Is it not his first wife?
Oh,
He had two
no,
wives. Mm-hmm.
I don't think so.
I'm pretty sure because that was
Oh, wait.
Tommy's mom,
Teddy?
Teddy.
No, it
Yes, Teddy's
wasn't.
mom.
That's a different lady.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Because okay. Because when Mr. Bird and Mr. Brown are talking, and he's like, Mr. Bird's like, I want to start on my own. They talk about what was her name? Something with the V.
Okay, but I think that might
Guys,
have been his wife, but that's not Teddy's mom. I know
no,
that for
okay,
sure.
okay. Remember at the airport when they're dropping him off?
That's not her.
Are you sure?
I'm pretty sure.
Okay, we'll give it to you.
I don't know. My memory is shot. And either way, he invites him to a show. So we cut to a show where he's wearing the outfit from the very beginning, so the red suit. And during the show, they show a really sweet moment of him basically singing directly to Bobby. I think it's like when he's singing like a cappella. I don't think there's any music accompanying at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just super sweet. Because like I said, he's singing directly to Bobby. Bobby's super emotional, but also I guess to end like this movie, it made me kind of emotional because I saw Bobby and like James Brown, but I also saw like Chadwick and Nelson, which made me really sad because like we've said
Yeah.
before, they both like had untimely deaths, so it was just even more like emotional that it was them two at the end. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah.
that's
When you
kind of
think
the end of
about
the
that.
movie. That's all I thought. But yeah. A couple of fun facts before we close this out. Just quick ones. The film had been in development since 2000.
Dang.
Spike Lee was lined up to direct, but music contractual issues held up the production, and he had to leave to honor the other commitments, which makes me sad because I feel like that would have also been a really good movie.
Mm-hmm.
And then last one was that James Brown in real life was 5'5", while Chadwick Boseman was 6 feet tall.
Dang.
Yeah.
Well, you're wrong. I'm reading
Was
it right
I?
now. James has a child, Teddy, with his first wife, Velma,
That
and then
wasn't
later
the
divorces her.
that was not his that was not the singer. Look up Bobby Bird's wife.
Um,
This is what happens when there's so many characters in a movie and I'm like, wait.
gosh.
Well, while you look that up, I love this movie very much. Yeah, I think like I said, I didn't have high expectations just based off of like my feelings for Rocket Man and Bohemian Rhapsody, but this movie is just a league of its own. Like it is so good. Chadwick Boseman is amazing in it. I haven't seen a ton of his movies. I will now, or eventually, but this is probably out of the few performances of his, is probably my favorite. Um, yeah. I was also surprised by how funny and how fun this movie ended up being. The music was obviously great. A stacked cast. Yeah.
Everything you just said is so true. Fantastic movie. If you haven't seen it, go watch it. Okay. I have the answer. Velma was his first wife. Vicky is Bobby Bird's wife, who sang on or with Mr. Brown.
Hmm.
I don't know if you remember that scene in the what's it called? In the bus where Daryl and Pee Wee are checking out that girl and
Mhm.
they're like talking about her and she overhears. I think that's Bobby Bird's wife.
No, that is not, Anthony.
Then who is that?
That's I don't know.
That's not Mr. Brown's new wife.
Either way, I was correct.
No, you weren't, because you said Teddy wasn't
I don't know who we're
film
talking about
as.
now because we're talking about 3 different people now.
Just go watch the movie. Go watch the
We're
movie.
dumb. Both of us are probably wrong somehow. We're both dumb. Like I
think we
said,
are
it's
wrong.
hard for me to keep track when
Yeah.
there's like more than 4 main characters because I'm dumb. Okay. I do have. Okay, so I found 2 quotes that I would like to end talking about this movie on. Do you have anything else to say?
I really like this movie. Mr. Brown is really the godfather of soul.
Truly.
That's all I got.
But yeah, so I think we said mostly what we wanted to say about Chadwick Boseman at the beginning. But I wanted to I was just curious about some of his famous quotes. Because he just was like, I don't know, he had a lot of great quotes, but I wanted to read off one that he said during a commencement speech where he said to graduates, "Whatever you choose for a career path, remember the struggles along the way are only meant to shape you and for your purpose. As you commence to your paths, press on with pride and press on with purpose." But the last quote, there's another quote that I wanted to mention because I don't know if you saw Lupita Nyong'o's post about him that she did I think it was today.
Yeah, it was today. I was gonna bring up one of the quotes, but I think
wonder
you
if
got
it's
it.
the same one.
So
So
we're probably on the same wavelength.
well, she ended her post. I mean, it's a beautiful post, so you should just go read it in full. It's pretty long. But she ended with a quote from Chadwick's wife Simone that she heard her say a couple of times, I think. And it reads, "Take your time, but don't waste your time."
Yeah.
And I really love that quote. Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
What's your pick for next week? Did you remember?
I didn't, but I was looking through some movies.
Like right now?
Yeah, right now.
And how do you forget? It's your only job.
Okay, well, I had a list of movies because we've been going through HBO, but I just so happened to pop on Twitter and saw that Seth Rogen tweeted that Pineapple Express is back on Netflix. God. So we're gonna watch Pineapple Express.
Oh man, we're gonna learn so much about marijuana next week.
Yeah.
Alrighty, that'll be a fun one.
Yeah, it'll be fun. I was gonna pick another. I was gonna pick another one, but I'll save it. It seems like a movie you'd pick, not one that I would. But
I wonder if I know what it is. Let me know off of pod.
Yeah, I wonder if anyone listens to this because we've done this so many times during this episode.
Huh?
We're just like, oh, I already know. Like, just that.
Oh,
just the sibling intuition.
Yeah, that's the sibling part of this is that we
already know.
We already know and we won't say it.
Yeah, everyone's gonna be so upset because they're like, I want to know what it was.
Well, I'll probably pick it next time, maybe. Well, it depends. If it's the one I think, then I don't know if I want to do all that work.
Oh, yeah, I can see that.
All right, well, we'll talk about it right now after we are done with this recording.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, let me plug the...
yes, everything.
Follow us if you want to give us any suggestions. let us know anything, honestly. Or sometimes we have stuff on our stories. We post some stuff. You can follow us on Instagram at Brother Sister Show, and then Twitter is at Bro Sis Show. Let us know your Twilight opinions.
Your favorite Mr. Brown song.
You can call him James Brown sometimes. You know that, right?
No. Let us know if you've seen Robots. Is that on a streaming service? I would have picked that if it is.
I'm not. Oh my god, I would be so pissed. I should make you run your choices by me.
No.
Because you don't have to do the research for them.
You don't either. Just tell me to do it.
No,
I'll do it.
I don't trust you.
My research would be like, I don't know.
Did you know Get On Up is a song playing
Robots?
at the end? I would not trust your research at all. Or your notes.
No.
Because you'd be like, oh, I'll take notes. And then when we get to it, I wrote 5 notes down. Do you see the notes I take? This one was...
Yeah, I saw.
4 pages.
Yeah, I don't do that.
All right, let's end this.
Yeah, it's going to be a long one.
All right, well, see you next time. Goodbye.
See you. Peace.